Well, hello, hello, and hello. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Phoebe's Place. And we thank you for joining in. Listen, sit down, relax, because this is about to be, we're going to get our therapy session on tonight. Okay. So, first of all, I want to thank again everyone for joining, everyone sharing the post about tonight. Thank you for making the lives a success all the way around. So I thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So now, without further ado, we're going to introduce Dr. Tamitra Clark. Yay! Let me see. Okay, can you hear us now? Now we can hear you.
Good evening, everyone. It is such a joy and a pleasure and a privilege to share this space with everyone tonight. And I thank you for allowing yourselves to come on this journey with us tonight as we continue the conversation that's been taking place over the last few weeks about this thing called grief, because it's something else and it's not going away. And we have to make sure that we're dealing with it so that we are healthy and whole. So thanks for joining us tonight.
Absolutely. I want to give time to so we can share. You can find me on YouTube. It's called Phoebe's Place, PHEBS space PLACE. That's what you're going to find me on YouTube. I have also gone live. Dr. Clark, you can share as well. I made it public for everyone. And please join in, ask any questions. Good evening, Tony Love. Good evening. Feel free to ask any questions. I want to say something, and I talked with her right before we went live about her book. So I made the mistake of purchasing the book, thinking, this is the book, and I'm gonna show you the picture at the end, thinking I'm gonna just read the book. You know how we do. Welcome, keeping away trauma. I love that. Justice Forky, yes. So I made the mistake of just buying the book, thinking I'm going to read this book and get through this book and it's going to be okay. Well, I only made it through the third page and had to put it down. And the reason why I had to put it down because this is not a book. This is a therapy session within the paperback. I cried the first 3 pages, and all she was doing in her book was engaging about herself. Thanking certain people and thanking the ones that passed on, and then she began to engage, and I just wept. So I had to put the book down, and now I know that I have to take my time with the book because she's explaining grief in different areas. So when you get the book, don't think you're just going to read through it. It's going to minister to you in your grief. That's how God gave it to her. So we're going to be letting you know where to get the book, which you're going to go on her website. But Dr. Clark.
Yes, ma'am.
When you wrote this book, tell us the place you was in emotionally.
Emotionally, I was in a place that is really indescribable, which is how the title of the book came to be, because that's where I was emotionally. People would keep asking, how are you doing? How are you feeling? How is it going? And my response literally became, I'm numb. And that's how the title of the book came about. Because if there was a word that could have gone beyond that, then that's the word I would have used. Because everything was such a blur and there was no ability to make a clear distinction from one emotion to the next. And I just sat there asking God, where do I go from here? What do I do next? And watching that same thing in the faces and the actions and the behaviors of my family members, I knew that there was something I had to do to bring us all out of this place that we were in.
Wow. And just for those that just, you're not just a fly by night. You are, give us your title and let me say this because I've known her, 30 something years.
Mhm.
And I remember when you were pregnant,
Mhm.
you as a single mother went through school. I watched you work. I watched you go to school. So for those single mothers that think you can't do it, even for the married women
Yes.
that think you can't do it, listen to this. Give us how that little walk through of your education that you obtained.
Ooh, my educational experience was not your traditional education. I went through high school. I actually got sick in my junior year and I missed an entire semester of school. I had a 3.85 when I got sick. And when I came back, I had like a 1.5 something. You know that that was not okay with me. And so I had to do some rearranging of my classes and things, but I graduated nonetheless and didn't go to college my first semester because I didn't have housing. But I went to San Francisco State for 2 years and then I got pregnant. And so my mother told me to be on the next thing smoking back to Southern Cal. So I came back here to Pasadena, went to PCC for 3 semesters. That was a very frustrating time for me because they would not let me enroll full time because of my pregnancy. So I felt like I didn't have any control. I had someone at my church tell me that I wasn't going to finish, that I was just going to be another statistic. So now in my mind, now I have something to prove, right? So it's not just for me anymore. I'm going to show them I'm not going to be this statistic. And so I went into labor, and Phoebe, I don't even think you've ever heard this story. I was so freaked out, for lack of a better term, of not finishing. And I had this one particular instructor who asked me, why did I sign up for his class so close to my due date? So I literally gave birth at 5:25 p.m. and asked them how long was it going to take for them to clean me up because I had class at 6. And the nurse said, what did you say? I said, I have a class at 6. How long is this going to take? And she said, you don't understand. You just gave birth to a whole person. I said, but you don't understand. I have a professor that is a jerk. And those were my words. And she said, I'm sorry, Miss Clark, that's not going to happen. I was out 2 weeks and I was back in school. And I never stopped. I transferred to Cal State LA. So it took me 6 years to get my bachelor's. I was out for about 3 years and I said, there's something missing. I need more. So in the process of that, I became ill with fibromyalgia. I was diagnosed in 1999 with fibromyalgia. So I was actually out of school. I was out of work and I was on my mother's couch when I got the call that I had been accepted to grad school. And I was so heavily medicated that I didn't even realize what happened, but I must have had a look on my face when I hung up the phone because mom asked, she said, well, who was that? And I was like, oh, yeah, it was the school. And mom said, well, what did they say? I said, I got in. And I'll never forget it. Mommy said, little girl, do you understand what you just said? And then this light bulb went off and I was like, oh, oh, oh. And when I called back, the lady, I'll never forget her name, Stephanie Greenstein, was on the phone laughing. She said, I just told them in the office that you were the most unexcited person that had ever talked to about getting into grad school. And so I had people tell me, you can't go. You're not well. Wait till you get well. And I was like, oh, no, I'm going to be there. Regardless, I had braces on, had my heating pad on, and I was determined to get it done. I didn't have the luxury of a lot of other colleagues I was with. A lot of them had nannies, they had husbands, they, had caregivers that could care for their kids. They didn't have to work. That wasn't my story. That portion I didn't work, But it wasn't my story that I could do this 4 years because I did an accelerated program. So I got both my master's and my doctorate in 4 years. But I
Wait,
worked multiple
say
jobs
that,
during that.
say that again, because you were a single parent, you're working, and what did you do?
I got my master's and my doctorate at the same time in 4 years.
Mm.
And when I look back now to think about how did that happen and have my son and who had to go to school, it was nothing but the grace of God. Because you get caught on autopilot and it's just something that you do. You don't really think about all the pieces of the puzzle that need to happen. All you know is that when you get up, there's something that has to be done and you get it done in the course of the day, no matter what it takes. And I oftentimes think about that and I'm just like, God, you are so good.
Yes, he
You
is.
are amazing. And
Yes,
so I have to give all honor and homage and credence and glory to him. Little did I know my career would prepare me for such a time as
Mm.
this. And he's
So
equipped
you
me.
have, I'm sorry, you have the education and you have the calling
Yes.
and you have the experience, which transitioned you into an unfortunate situation. Because those of us that know Troy, we loved him. We loved y'all family. And anytime you would go to the Clark's house, oh my God, it was turned up from sun up to sundown. I mean, and you guys took in everyone. Everyone. You know, we were there every week, all the time, and you guys loved on us. So that abrupt interruption
Oh my.
from Troy, God taking him and totally interrupting your world.
Yes. Oh yes.
Speak to us in reference to that.
Well, the first interruption was when he took Auntie Anne's son. That was our first big blow with the young men in our family. He was only 32, massive heart attack. So that was the first blow. And then after him came our cousin Averill, another young Black man. He was only 40 something.
Yes.
So we had a little time in between there, but the hits kept coming in the family. And then when it came to Dad, because of who he was and just all the circumstances that surrounded his transition and still trying to work through that. And then less than a year of that, now this Mack truck hits with my brother. It was just like, I had to look up at God and say, God, am I being punked? Is this really happening? And I tried to put that clinical hat on. I was just like, okay, let me get it into gear. I know what to do. And, I tried to do this and tried to do that. And it took my aunt, she literally shook me and was like, no, baby, not now. Because there was not a class that I had taken. There was not a book that I had read. There was not a theorist that I had studied that could have prepared me for that blow. Because when I tell you I felt like I was sucker punched, there are still some days where I feel like, dang, I got another blow to my gut. And that mind altering, you talk about drugs and alcohol being mind altering. Oh, this blow was so mind altering. There's not a drug or a drink that could compare, in my opinion. Because I was literally had my foundation stripped from up under me. Not knowing if I could bounce back or not.
I'm so glad you said that. The foundation, because I'm an only child. So when my mother passed the latter part of last year, I never experienced it's like the floor removed from me and I was falling. Yes. No one has ever explained that to me. And I wasn't prepared for it. Right. Not telling everything about your book because again, her book is a therapy session. It really, really, really is. tell us what's the beginning, what's the start process when you are experiencing grief? What's the start process for the average individual?
You know what? Because grief is what it is, and everybody's journey is their own individual journey, you really cannot pinpoint a starting process.
Mm.
Because where I might start my journey might be someone else's end of their journey. And
Mm.
so I kind of talk about that in the book as I shared our individual stories, how we were all in different places and at different stages,
Mm.
because it doesn't happen in a linear fashion.
That's
Because I might start at one place at 9 o'clock this morning, but at
mm.
9 o'clock tonight, I might be at a totally different place. And
Wow.
it's recognizing that place and being okay with it.
And now,
Hey,
see,
where to start.
Robert Grant, I'm with you on that because this is it's very powerful. And I've been knowing, like again, I've been knowing her for 30 something years. But when I read this, and I'm gonna put it up, but when I read this at the beginning, it shook me. It just shook me, and it almost brought me to all my emotions, and it was too much at one time, and that was just the beginning. So I am starting on a therapeutic session. So I have had, because I know a couple of my guests, and they had kind of the same thing. Um, they try to deal with it, but the pain is too great and it stops. What can you speak just a little bit on that? What's happening for people that are experiencing that?
When we get stuck in our grief process, there's a couple things going on. I let people know that the impact that the grief has on an individual is directly correlated to the relationship that you have with that loss.
Wow.
So oftentimes when we get to a place where we're stuck in not knowing how to now navigate ourselves in the midst of all the labels that loss held to us.
Mm.
Because we now wonder, like your guest that you had last week, when she
Hmm.
said her husband was her everything. They did
Yes.
everything together. They went shopping together. They went to the movies together. They went on couples dates together. They
Yeah.
did, finances together. So now we get stuck because we're trying to figure out what label or labels do I now hold? Am I still a wife? Do I still have
Mm-hmm.
married couple friends? Am I, still the cook? Who am I now in this? And redefining those labels and giving them a different meaning, because I am still those things. But
Mm.
now how I show up as those things looks
Wow.
different. So I get stuck trying to figure those pieces of the puzzle out. And
Mm.
that's what I help people do in the workshops, is how do you redefine yourself in that and
Mm.
live with purpose and intention?
And with that, you do have a workshop coming up, and I have it running. It's on her website, drtamitraclark.com. Please go to it now, and you can also get the book and you can register. Tell us about that.
The series of workshops that's coming up, I'm so excited about it because it's specifically for widows and widowers and one support guest. And
Mm.
so it doesn't matter if you became a widow or a widower today, or if you have been a widow or a widower for years, your process is still taking place. And where
Okay.
you have learned to kind of get through it, that's one thing. But have you learned how to embrace the pain, honor your loss, and live life with intention and
Mm.
purpose to honor that loss? Or are you just merely getting through day to day? And so I'm hoping, and my desire is that we can break some chains and get some freedom and some healing and some deliverance so that they can live longer, sustainable lives
Mm.
in this process.
Go to her website. Please get her book and register for her workshop. I want to ask you a question
Mhm.
about denial,
Hmm.
grief, grief and denial.
Mhm.
Can you come to a point where you just not dealing with the fact you're denying the fact, okay, this really happened, let me go on, and you know, how does that affect us in the long run? Because one day we're gonna really deal with it. And I experienced that in your first 3 pages
Mhm.
regarding my friend that I
Yeah.
thought, oh, I dealt with her, she's gone,
Mhm.
I dealt with that. But dealing with that, I hadn't. I guess I denied that. So
Yeah.
speak to us
Okay.
on that.
Well, if we had to pinpoint a place where individuals usually start, Phoebe, that denial stage is where they would usually start.
Okay.
Because no one wants to automatically say, "Oh yeah, my loved one transitioned. I'm good with that." We
Mm.
might tell ourselves that even in the anticipatory grief that we have. So if we are anticipating someone has a chronic illness, or we know that it's coming,
Uh-huh.
we still have a mask that we wear. We wear a mask when it comes to grief.
Mm.
And so in my research and looking, I came across 16 different types of grief and loss that we can encounter at any given time. And oftentimes we are experiencing more than one of them at the same time. So,
Mm.
where we might be in denial about one, we may have been able to work ourselves up to get through another stage with another one. But what denial actually does, it is actually a protective stage for us.
Mm.
And
Okay.
it allows us to bring in only what we can tolerate at that time.
Mm.
Because
Okay.
our minds and our brains are great. We have what's called plasticity in our brains that allows it to expand, and it can hold a lot, but it also has its capacity for those things that are not healthy for the mind. And
Okay.
grief is a normal reaction to loss, but again, the impact of it can be such that the mind cannot contain it. And so it has to build a protective barrier around itself. And that's the role that denial plays in our
Mm.
journey of grief. And once our mind is able to contain
Mhm.
a little more, it allows us to transition to the next stage.
So
Doesn't
we
mean that
should.
we won't come back to it, but
Okay.
it gives
Okay.
us a little space that we can move on.
So we shouldn't force it because some.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Okay.
I also talk about if it comes up, let it come out,
Mm. Okay.
because oftentimes we don't. And I'm very big on there's a chapter in the book called Permission Granted. We've got to give ourselves permission,
Wow.
and we don't do that. And we don't do that because culturally, how we have grown and what we have learned and the beliefs and the mindsets that we have grown up with, especially from a faith based background. where we're
Mhm.
told that as long as our loved ones knew Christ, we'll see him again. Or, you know, in after American culture, we're supposed to be strong and we're not supposed to allow ourselves to feel. Well, we hold those things in, and what we end up doing over time, what the mind can't contain, the body will begin to manifest. And so now we're sick. We're wondering why we got high blood pressure. We wonder why we have diabetes. We wonder why I got a headache. Wonder why my back is hurting. It's not just because you're not eating well or anything like that. It's because you're not giving yourself permission.
Mm.
Because I talk about grief under the umbrella of the 8 dimensions of wellness. So we are looking at our emotional, our physical, our intellectual, our environmental, our occupational, our financial, our vocational, are looking at our spiritual wellness. And when one piece of that puzzle has a crack in it, it's a
Mhm.
domino effect. Each piece begins to have some flaws and some cracks in it. And when grief has made a crack in your social and your emotional wellness, what comes along with it? And crack with your
Mhm.
social, because I don't want to be bothered with nobody. I isolate my physical, because now I'm having some physical manifestations of this. Financial, if my loved one wasn't prepared, now am I held with the financial burden of to come? My environment, is my environment safe now because my loved one, whoever was the breadwinner, but now that falls on me. My job, my vocational, I can't focus anymore. Am I really going to be able to do what I need to get done in school? My intellectual capacity, my ability to be creative and explore, all these pieces are impacted. And now the work has to begin to try to mend them back together. And I'll never have another complete pie. But I put
Mm.
my pie together as much as I can so that I can live with
Okay,
intention.
look, that is really good. And thank you so much because one of my guests, that's where she is. So
Mhm.
you just broke it down to where she will be able to understand that place that she's in. Now, we do have a question from Robert Grant. He says, do you think society treats the male and female grievers differently and why?
Absolutely. Because of your stereotypes about how men are to present themselves and how women are to present themselves. Women
Mm.
by nature are said to be your more emotional creatures. So it's expected for women to cry in the time of grief and loss, or to have more emotions during that time. Men are conditioned to be strong and they're warriors, and they don't show pain, right? They deal with pain. But
Mm.
that's oftentimes where the men, how they express that anger stage of grief becomes more rageful, and it's manifested in more physical anger and outbursts and lashing out.
Mm.
Whereas our women, we take a more emotional approach in displaying our anger. So there's definitely a difference. But I say to our men, give yourself permission
Mm.
to allow yourself to grieve your own way, when you want to, where you want to, how you want to, and be unapologetic about your journey. And that's for
Mm.
everybody.
Wow. And I have a question. You touched on it a little bit. Why is it? And I think, and he mentioned it as well. When it says widowers are scorned for having diverse emotions over losing a spouse, and a lot of times, people, and even when we're in the church, feel that okay, you've grieved long enough. It's been 6 months. It's been a year. You should be able to get over it.
Mhm.
Why do you think is it that we just don't understand, or are we trying to get people to be, like you said, put that facade or face on? Why do we want people to push them through the grief quickly and get over it?
I am working on the language. So I start the book off with the language just to give a basic little contextual background for setting it up. But the language that we have around grief and loss is so skewed and so distorted and so erroneous. And when people are speaking, and your guest last week mentioned it, how people just say some of the most inappropriate things with very good intentions, because that's how society has conditioned us. If you look at on our jobs, when we have moments of death in our families and we need to take off, how many days do we get? We get 3 days, maybe 5. But then I need you back at work. I need you producing, making my numbers look good, and I need business to run as usual. However, so then we show up in that space, but we show up broken. And so you're still not getting all of me. You're getting the physicalness of me, but you're not getting my intellectual being. You're not getting my creative side. You're not getting that person that got you your numbers. And so I tell people the grieving process does not end, but we learn as we develop the strategies going through the process, again, how to embrace the pain, honor the life, and live with purpose and intention so that we can still live productive lives and honor the loss. There's something called post-traumatic growth, not PTSD, post-traumatic growth. And it's all about finding the new possibilities out of traumatic events in our lives. And there's 5 areas that we look at, and there are things that we have thought about before, but for whatever reason, we have suppressed those things and have allowed life and the events and the traumas in our lives to suppress who we are and our capacity to thrive. And it's just about finding that meaning in our most tragic situations that will bring life and new possibilities and get some new fertile ground in there and get those seeds watered so that we can start to blossom again, because there is still life, because life doesn't stop, so we can't stop. But how we continue the journey in life matters, because now I can't just go through it day to day. I can't just have my everyday routine. Every single moment of my life now must be intentional. So I have to be intentional from day to day about how I'm going to live in the face of this so that I can still live and fulfill my purpose.
Got it. Wow, this was good. Y'all listen, 30 minutes went by so quick and we're a little over, and I'm not mad about it. I'm gonna have her back on here to deal with some really specific things and issues. But look, let's do this, because I got word that this week is Dr. Clark's birthday.
Oh my goodness.
I got word from your publisher. So listen, I want to say this. If you want to have her come to your church, talk at an event, please email her and she will get back with you. She is dynamic, as you can see. And she not only has the education, she has the experience, and she has the compassion. She knows exactly how to pinpoint it, as you can see. So for her birthday, I'm going to sing happy birthday to her. But for her birthday, you guys, let's just blow everything out the water. Go on her website, get her book. Also register for her next class, because as you heard someone earlier said, she went and she blessed her. So those of you, it's in California, correct?
Yes, it's in Pasadena, California, for widow and widowers. Yes.
You guys register. Go online and register. So now I'm going to sing happy birthday.
Oh, thank you, Fee.
So happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Dr. Clark. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much. Thank
You
you
are
so much.
welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you.
My
You
pleasure.
have answered some questions I had, as I see others had also. What what can we look forward to the upcoming year of Dr. Clark?
Oh, wow. I have an upcoming speaking engagement on the 29th for lafamilyhousing.org for their mental health and wellness. Thank you, Miss Sophia, for their mental health and wellness month. I'll be closing out their month out there, helping them to look at their wellness and mental health. And then again, the workshops in April. And I'm excited that in partnership with my publisher and KS Publishing and Media, I will be doing a grief summit in Houston,
Mm,
August 11th, 12th, 13th. I'll be there. The summit is August 12th. I'm excited about what God is going to do there. There will be rooms for people to go into and just have their space according to their category of grief. And
wow.
we will tackle this thing called grief. And I'm looking for lives to be changed, transformations to be experienced, and just to be transformed by the renewing of the mind. And so I'm
Yes.
excited about that and all that God is bringing this way. So please stay tuned because there is definitely more of Dr. Clark to come in 2023.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you. We're definitely going to have you back. And
Thank
we're
you
going to have
again.
to get you in Vegas. Listen, we gonna,
Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready for
I'm going to have to
Vegas.
work on that, sister. Yeah.
Yes, I
But
speak it
again,
right now.
yes, it's going to happen. It's going to
Yes.
happen. But yes, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone that have joined us. She has, as you see, she has an amazing following. That is so nice to have. We're going to get these comments in there. Is there any questions that you would like to ask her before we release her off? Those that have experienced grief, you just have general questions. She's open to take the questions. Please feel free to put it in the comments. Yes, yes. God has engaged her to, yes. And he's
Amen.
enlarging her territory as
Amen.
well. And unfortunately, sometimes when God is creating an area and a room for us, he allows us to go through trials and he
Hmm.
allows us to go through the tribulations. But you
Yes.
know what? It works forth for the good because
Woo.
now look how many people you're helping. No one would ever imagine. That's my hubby. Thank you, hubby, for
Thank you, Percy.
no one would ever imagine that you are sitting in this seat. But you know what? It took a lot for you to sit in
Oh
this
my
seat.
God. Oh yes. Oh
There
yes.
were days, and when you said out, you don't think I remember because we were thinking, what in the world is wrong with her? She just had a baby, and what she's
That's
thinking about
right, because your mom, that's right. Stassi was on the
is
phone with me. Yes, that's right. She was like, get your
yes.
little stuff to that hospital.
Yes,
That's
yes, this
right.
girl was worried about her work, but that's how driven she was because she knew. Listen, let me calm myself down. She knew there was a purpose for her, and she knew that I have got to keep going no matter what. I have got to keep going. She has an amazing son. She Everything that she did, she can look back on and just say, Lord, thank you.
Thank you.
Because it
Thank
took your purpose and your drive to get you through where you were. Oh my God.
I
I just,
can't thank
stuff
him
is just,
enough. I
yes,
cannot thank him enough. I wear
yes.
his ears out. I know sometimes he's probably like, little girl, okay, I got it. I heard you. Okay, you appreciate me. But it's just when I think of his goodness,
Mm,
And all that he's done for me,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
beyond my soul crying out.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
beyond that. I
Yes.
can't even begin to think and imagine just how good he's been and how his grace has
Yes.
kept me and is keeping me and is going to continue to keep me.
Yes.
And I thank him every day,
Yes.
all day, every day. I am very intentional about that. Every
Yes.
I start my day with him and I end my day with him
Yes.
because there's nobody but Jesus.
And Tracy, oh, that is so sweet.
Yes, that is when I tell you that's my other ride and die.
Mm, mm,
That's
mm.
my sister got my back.
She is definitely anointed. I just want you to see these comments. Okay. Listen, because I see her and I see what God is doing and just really remembering way back when it didn't look so good, way back when people didn't think that you was going to make it being a
Oh
single
yeah.
mother. You want to get this, you're not going to get this because you need to do this. All that was told to her. I remember clearly, and she had just like muffled ears. She didn't listen to no one. And she just kept telling you guys watch. You guys watch. I'm gonna do you watch. And she pursued each and every step in her life. Look where you are. And you're going to help millions. You are going to help millions.
I received that because
You are going to have your own clinic. Listen,
yes, I
listen.
received that because it's an assignment that is so
Woo,
much bigger than me. And I said, Lord, me, but I'm up for the challenge, right?
woo.
Because he knows how much I can bear.
Come
And
on.
he has equipped me for such a time as this. And there are some days where I'm just like, okay, God, okay. I'm like, I'm throwing in the towel. And he's like, no, because the race is not given to the swift nor to the strong, but to the
Woo,
one that endures until the
my God.
end. And
Yes.
so I have to keep going, no matter what it looks like in this physical space that I
Woo,
contain. I'm in
mm,
his world, in this world, but I'm not of this world. So I have to
come
see
on.
beyond what my natural eye can see, and I have to hear
Woo,
beyond what my natural hearing can hear, and I have to use my instrument to cry out to him and to
woo,
thank him and to totally trust and depend on him.
come on.
Because without him, I am
Woo,
nothing. I would be like a ship without a sail,
come on.
tossed back and forth. So I have to trust him. I have to be like that tree planted
Yes.
by the rivers of water
I
that
shall
will
not be.
receive my reward in due
Woo,
season
my God. My God.
because I know that
My,
it's coming. I know that it's coming.
it is. And it, as the song says, it'll be worth it all.
Yeah.
When you see yourself where your desire, it will be worth it all.
Yeah.
Worth it all. You guys, listen, get her book. I'm going to put this up here just in case someone forgot. Go to her website, drtamitraclark.com. Bless her. She's worthy of the call, as you can see. As you can see, and this is just a little bit. She has so much. She's like a well with water flowing. So you guys reach out to her. If you want her to speak again, email her at drclarkspeaks@gmail.com and get her to your church, get her to your event, allow her to minister. It's already here, just walking. Yes, absolutely, Tracy, absolutely. I'm all here messed up. Oh, so sweet. Well, listen, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. Demetra, you stay on. Don't you go nowhere. But thank you,
Okay.
everyone, for joining us. Thank you for loving on Dr. Clark and wishing her a happy birthday. Look, keep that love going. Even when it ends, keep that love going and go to her website and bless her. Get this book. It
And
is
baby, before you close, I just have to thank God for placing Adrian Ebel in my life, who came
thank you,
in and
Adrian.
finished my book in 6 weeks.
Are
Totally
you
amazing. And so I thank God for her.
Amen. So is she a publisher that maybe
Yes,
someone can go to as well?
absolutely. Please
Can
go
we
to
get your
Adrian
information?
Ebel. Yes,
Okay.
she
Listen,
is
wow,
the business.
that's awesome. Okay, so somebody's putting up Cash App for birthday coins. What's your Cash App, sweetie?
$ Dr. Tutu, Tutu.
I love see now I made it without saying that.
You made it without saying it. Yes, you did.
So $ Dr. Tutu,
Yes,
and that's
that's my
it.
Cash App. That's it.
Okay, so here we're getting ready to put this up. Thank you for saying that, Yvette.
That's my girl, Yvette. Thank you, Miss Yvette.
Yes,
That's it.
this is her Cash App. Bless her. Don't forget the E. She said, is it an E
For
in it,
Adrian
Tracy?
Ebel. Yeah, she's talking about for
Oh,
Adrian
Adrian
Ebel.
Ebel. Okay, so, okay, I know she was, here we go. Adrian Ebel, here it is right here.
There she goes.
So if you want a book published, reach out to her.
Mm-hmm.
Does she have a website? Or,
Yes, Adrian, can you give them your website address? Because my mind is full of. Just go to Adrian Ebel and she will come up.
Okay, okay. It's yes, yes. So this is her. Reach out to her if you want a book. I may have to talk to her myself.
Yes.
But Dr. Clark, thank you again.
Thank you so
this
much,
blesses this blessed me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love all this love. Here we go. Yes. Let's Cash App her. Let her phone ring. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's her website.
TheRealAB.com. Yes, ma'am. I'm going to screenshot this for myself because this book is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Okay. So look, I got my. So I'll be reaching out, Miss Adrian Ebel. I'll be reaching out to you. Was it something that, okay, so we got it. All right, so thank you guys. What a wonderful Monday. And you guys have a blessed Monday. And look, be intentional in your life. Be intentional, as she said, walking through the grief. Take your time. Take your time and allow God to heal you. And you take it one step at a time. And listen, wait a minute. Okay, look, don't push me. Because I'm one of those. I'll jump on it quick.
Yes.
Push me now. Ooh. So listen, for those who haven't seen the book, I'm going to put this up. This is her book. So when you're looking for it, well, you're going to her website. This is what you're gonna get. And look, I didn't say this. I know y'all be like, Phoebe, can you? But look, you guys, there's a journal.
Yes.
In the back. She has a journal in the back. And she has statements. I'm just going to read this one. It says, I will not allow the negative dialogue to become a squatter in my mind. Get the book.
She said, get the book.
Get the book. Y'all have a blessed night and love you much. And thank you so much for joining us. Have a blessed week. Okay?
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.